I don't think we need to do a whole introduction, but we can at least let people know. Obviously, you guys are watching the Fantasy Wise guys live
Live, literally.
from home. We're just rocking. No Len today. We miss you, Len. But today, listen, we got to get down to business. Mike Meals, Joey Puma,
You already know?
subscribe, like, and comment.
Yeah.
Please, why are you not following us? We are going to start posting a lot of stuff. We've been talking about it this week, about posting on our Instagram account, and we worked on finalizing a logo. We're working on getting news to our primary goal is to get news to you as quickly as possible so you guys can start following us and stay in tune with a lot of stuff going on, hearing our perspectives and how it relates to fantasy. So we're building all of that. By the time the season comes, I think we're going to be in a big place. We got the encyclopedia with us.
Listen, I don't need paper in front of me, nothing. It's all right here, baby.
I know, and that's what makes you deadly. Yo, I saw somebody commented. What did they say about you gotta? They're like, you guys are great. You got to Puma's got to get a job with the NFL. What did she say?
Oh no, I had like one of my closest friends text me. Big Jets fan. Shout out to Gwen and Jeff. Lifelong Jets fans, season ticket holders actually. They always beg me to come, but your boy doesn't like the cold. But anyway, they heard our podcast on YouTube and they loved it. And they said we belong on NFL Network. Now, I don't know if we're ready for that just yet, because again, we try to take things in stride. But I thank them for that, and a big shout out to you guys because even though this team is always gives us agita, um, it's fans like that make you and I want to root and want to win. I think that's the biggest thing is that we want to win so much, but I want them to win more so for my dad and Gwen and all these other people that are lifelong Jets fans.
Oh, I know, man. It's really been like a brutal 20 years for us, or longer, obviously, but for us at least as diehard fans since being kids. But look, I mean, we're in for a big season. There was some news today that or over the last couple of days since we've last recorded that we needed to talk about. Um, One thing I think since we've been talking about it a lot, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both locked down 4-year contracts. Jamar Chase 161 million, T. Higgins 115 or something. I mean, this is obviously big for fantasy. You think this is going to lock in Joe Burrow for top three quarterback?
It's funny because even with that, I feel the Bengals as a real team instead of fantasy, they still have problems, and if anything, this just makes Joe Burrow a top two option for me. And here's why. I mean, let's be honest. This guy, if they didn't get off to a slow start, we probably could have been talking about them in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, he could have won MVP, and that's on a bad season. So could you just imagine with no defense and Chase Higgins and my boy Chase Brown in the backfield, this guy's gonna go bananas.
You don't.
And yeah, oh, without a doubt. And all I'm gonna say is top three performer. If we were to redo our mock draft from the other night, I would have taken him instead of Jaden Daniels.
Oh, so that's why you say top three. Because then so you're saying Allen,
So right now,
Lamar
my
Jackson, and
top
Burrow.
three, honestly, is Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, and Lamar. I think Lamar is going to take a real step back just because, again, um, they lost some pieces. They lost their offensive line a little bit. They re-signed Ronnie Stanley, but they were banged up, and now just another season of Derrick Henry. We don't know, is age gonna really, affect him this year? Also, too, I mean, look at the weapons. You have Mark Andrews, who's on the decline. Isaiah Likely, sure. DeAndre Hopkins, nothing, like we had mentioned before, nothing really potent. It doesn't really scare you. The only guy on there that really scares me deep is Flowers.
Yeah, I
But
mean, he's
again, I think that Lamar is due for some regression, but that's me personally. Everybody has their rankings. Like you have yours, I have mine, but that's me personally. Tomorrow, if I'm drafting Josh Allen and my quarterback rankings, it's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels.
I have Joe Burrow as the third quarterback, so one spot behind you. And the only reason why is because 2 years ago of how, they had a lot of injuries and you saw them kind of get banged up. So there's always room for doubt. And obviously he's not a running quarterback, but he does have his two key weapons. And they're gonna probably have to throw the ball a lot because I mean they're gonna have a bunch of sixth graders playing defense. Who are they even gonna draft? They
Yeah, I
draft
think it's
everybody.
more so my projections are based off of game script, right? I mean, they were losing, this past season and they had Trey Hendrickson, they had their safeties in line. Well, now those people are gone, and until they bring in someone notable, no, I don't trust their defense. Every game is going to be like 35-30, So for me and other fantasy ongoers, hey, listen, Joe B. Top two, top three quarterback for me.
Yeah, and last year they were definitely all high scoring. So also Cooper Kupp now went to the Seahawks, which is funny because you kind of talked about it. You said watch him go there because he wants to play against LA twice a year now. And I thought that was hysterical when I saw him get drafted there because number one, I was like, oh, there goes Puma, calling another
Are
one. But at the
signed,
same
yeah.
time, I just don't understand the thought process. And for me, he's completely undraftable. I think at any point in time, if you have the option to pick him, there's other people on the board that are going to be better and more talented. And I just don't like the fact that he got drafted. He's got traded, or I'm sorry, he signed he's basically a slot receiver and he's signed to a team with JSN who's another slot receiver. That's why I really pictured him going to somewhere like the Cowboys who had CeeDee Lamb or maybe even to Jacksonville who have Brian Thomas Jr. I think to get that short area targets. I think it's going to be a little interesting to see, but Darnold did perform well. I
Yeah.
I personally don't want to draft him. What are your what's your thought on it?
So, going into it, I love that he's coming back home, all that other stuff. But you know what? I'm probably on board with you. I'm not too crazy about Cooper Kupp just for the mere fact of, he does have JSN next to him. If I am drafting a Seahawks wide receiver, it is JSN. If I'm starting Cooper Kupp, I'm in trouble. Let's just call it what it is. You know, um, Sam Darnold, scam. I don't know what he's going to be like out of Minnesota. That's number one, right? And like you mentioned, two slot guys. We still need a guy on the outside. That's why I had mentioned a deep sleeper is Jake Bobo. Um, I know he's
You
had a
did
crazy
mention
name,
that.
and I love saying him. But to be honest, I can see him get that X role and be on the lookout for some go balls to
Some
Jake
go
Bobo.
routes. That's a good call. I like that prediction.
Yeah, if you're looking for like a home run and you have some injuries, bye weeks, I definitely think he will be a viable streamer once the season starts.
Well, Darnold's no stranger to airing the ball out. Let me ask you a question. Can you still see me right now while I have this up? Am I,
Yep.
you can see me?
Yes, I can.
Beautiful. All right. Just wanted to make sure. Listen, so I'm gonna just throw a couple names at you real quick. I mean, Cooper Kupp, right now, as it stands, he's coming in at wide receiver 41 this year. So there's a lot of notable people around him. So I'm just curious of who you'd be more interested in drafting. So would you take a Cooper Kupp or Juwan Jennings of San Francisco?
Jawan Jennings. I've seen him do it in that system before.
Me too. Now, what about ex 49er Debo Samuel or Cooper Kupp?
Oh, Debo, 100%.
I like that. Now, Cooper Kupp or Jalen Waddle?
You know what? I'm going Waddle.
Wow. So it sounds like you're really down on him too. And honestly,
Well, yeah, also too, you have to, like I always say to you and the folks, is it's where you're drafted and where you're signed. So I'm not saying Cooper Kupp is not talented. Did he lose a step here and there? Maybe. I had him in fantasy. But at the end of the day, the Seahawks are probably playing towards more of a run defense run offense, play action with Darnold, short passing, West Coast offense, because you always want to look at the head coach, and the head coach is a defensive minded guy. So for me, I feel like if anyone is going to prosper from all of this, it's my boy Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker. Yeah, no, he could definitely see some volume.
But going back to your point, yeah, no, I would take definitely Waddle over Cup just because of the explosiveness of the Miami offense. And let's not forget, who does he play twice a year? New England, the Jets, who just lost DJ Reed. So on that other side is either going to be Michael Carter, who's a lifelong backup, or a rookie. And Buffalo, who, at times they'd give up points. So I like my chances with Mr. Waddle.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm out on him this year solely because of the fact of where he's being drafted. I know there's going to be better guys available. So I'm
I
putting
will
money on
compare
him.
this to Cooper Kupp. To me, is Jordy Nelson when he left the Green Bay Packers and he went to the Raiders. I don't know for you lifelong NFL fans out there, but he was never the same. Let's just say that. And it's not also because he's white either. I
I
just
was
think
gonna,
they have similar playing styles.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't gonna say it. But now that we're on the topic, yeah. But I get it. Yeah, definitely similar playing style.
Good
They're the same
comparison.
slot type of receivers, definitely. And and honestly, yeah, like exactly. Cooper Kupp is not the same, triple crown winner he was 5 years ago.
Myke, you just don't disappear. I mean, let's not face it. Weeks 15, 16, and 17 out of nowhere. Either it was more some dissension in the locker room, or they truly felt that he had a misstep and they started working in Denard Robinson, who now is a San Francisco 49er.
Oh yeah. And speaking of another guy that left LA, and who's now signed with the Jets, Tyler Johnson. I mean, to me, I don't want to call it irrelevant yet, mainly because you don't know when or what else might happen. But during the season last year, he wasn't that flattering when he did have to step up into a role when Cooper Kupp was injured and then Puka Nacua was injured. At one point, they really didn't have many receivers. So, real quick, do you think that he could be like a deep option in a league, or maybe a late draft guy, somebody you pick up on waivers, start him? What do you think?
Yeah, for Tyler Johnson, my comparison to him is Quincy Enunwa, just because I feel like the big body receiver, he's going to get an opportunity now. I mean, when you are on the Rams, it is an embarrassment of riches. You had Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Denard Robinson, Tutu Atwell. So there was a lot of options, and a veteran quarterback is going to take those options, Higbee, over, a young Tyler Johnson. But I feel like I say Quincy Enunwa, he's 6'4", 215 pounds. I feel like he replicates that a little bit. And, Justin Fields is still learning to be a passer. He can't always go to Garrett Wilson. This gives him another outlet. I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Is he draftable right now? No. I would say wait and see. I don't even think he's worth a bench spot. Wait and see. And then if you see some glimpses and he's getting some looks, you see the biggest thing for me, Myke, is, a lot of people will look at points and catches, but opportunity is king. So you fantasy people out there, look for targets, right? We want to look for targets because if he's being targeted 5, 6 times and he's getting three of those balls, sign me up because eventually it's gonna break out. So
I'm
it's
glad
a
you
wait and
mentioned the
see game.
target. I'm glad you mentioned that target percentage and how to pay attention to it because I know,
And snap percentage too. I don't mean to talk over you, but snap
oh yeah,
percentage is big. You
I
see
was
some
about to say.
guys and you see that they're in 75, 80% of snap percentage, but they just haven't gotten their opportunity yet, and the quarterback's not finding them. Well, eventually the ball will find you. So it's just key things, intangible stuff to pay attention to.
Yeah, and during the season, we're gonna definitely dive a little more into like analytics and how to really pay attention. Because, for example, let's say you're on ESPN app and you're on your phone and you're trying to make a decision on who to start. You can't necessarily quickly look up snap percentage directly on the app. You're gonna have to go and visit other sources and other sites, and you have to be open-minded to things like this. So we'll definitely talk about that a little more in the future. But Jordan Mason, he is now a Minnesota Viking, which could be like alarming for some Aaron Jones owners. I know you loved him last year. You drafted him really late. He
Yeah,
ended up being
actually,
like a
Jordan Mason was had to be my third to last pick in our draft. But going forward, I think this is a great pickup for Minnesota. Minnesota is in a win now mode. Um, Detroit has lost all their coordinators. You know, this is the time to pounce. I know you have the Bears coming up, but that's still a rookie head coach, Ben Johnson. He's still going to go into some rookie woes. For me, right now in that division, if they tomorrow night or whenever decide on an Aaron Rodgers, to me, they would become the best team in that division just because of their defense is loaded, their skill positions are loaded. We just don't know about JJ McCarthy.
yeah, and
So
I
having the
that's a
insurance
huge part
back
of it.
is a total plus because if Aaron Jones does get hurt, this gentleman could step right in and becomes an RB1 tomorrow. So for you fantasy guys out there, I would definitely draft him as my handcuff.
For sure. A lot of people probably look, and me personally too, I would much rather prefer to draft someone like Jordan Mason in the, let's say, eighth or ninth round, as opposed to Aaron Jones in like the fifth round. To me, it seems like at one point he'll get more work. You saw last year when Christian McCaffrey did not play, he stepped up and was a huge part of that offense, would take 20 plus touches a game. And Aaron Jones, being at his age and just the last couple of years, he gets banged up a lot. He will definitely miss some games this year where they will call on Jordan Mason to be a workhorse. So yeah, I'm gonna look to pick him up in the end. So real quick, let's see where we got. So Jordan Mason right now, wow. So it's hilarious because he's going at running back 46 as of now. That's where his status is, which is behind Ray Davis, behind Tyler Algier, behind Austin Eckler. I mean, I think there's a really good case for Jordan Mason being ranked above these people, but obviously the rankings will change as time goes on. So we'll have to wait and see. Another guy that's actually ranked ahead of him. This is a good point I want to bring up. Javonte Williams, and he's still pretty much the lone back there in Dallas. They did sign Miles Sanders, and supposedly they both had a quote that they're excited to take on the volume back there. And last episode, you did mention you were like Javonte Williams is the type of guy that is going to get a lot of volume, especially being the number one guy. And despite having that volume production or all the snaps that he might see this year, he's still another guy I do not look to draft at any point in the draft. Like I just named a bunch of people after him that I know I would take before him. And I would even take who's sitting behind him? Javonte Williams, 36. Hank Bigsy's behind him. Zach Charbonnet's behind him. Jerome Ford, Travion Henderson,
Yeah,
Austin.
but for me,
Take all these guys over him.
Miles Sanders doesn't really scare me. I mean, he lost his job to Chuba Hubbard. So for me, Javante is the best upside there. Miles Sanders is just brought in for a depth piece. He might not even see the field this year. He seems like a cut casualty by springtime, by summertime, in camp. You never know. Right now, everyone is just trying to take the best talent off the free agency wire, whatever is left. And then when they draft their team and see what they have, we'll go from there. But right now, I'm taking Javonte Williams over all those guys just because, again, those running backs that you said, he is the number one guy on the depth chart. Eckler is a backup. Eckler has some standalone value, so that's probably a toss-up. That's probably
Absolutely.
the hardest one, the rubber meets the road. But I'm still taking him over Jordan Mason. I'm taking him over Davis in Buffalo. Braylon Allen for the Jets, I'm still taking him over him. Again, you can't quantify volume. He was never the same after that torn ACL, Javonte Williams. But you know what? You never know what happens when you give a guy a 1 year deal and he's still young, and the Jets did something similar with Justin Fields. So, again, has had a bumpy first 3 or 4 years of his career. But hey, look, what's there to lose, right? You take a flyer on him. If he sucks, you're gonna end up cutting him anyway as a fantasy owner. Or you get stuck with an RB2 flex play.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have no desire to, and I get your point, and I don't even think Miles Sanders is going to be a threat to his touches whatsoever. But at some point, I'm just, when I'm observing overall talent, he was talented 4 years ago, and now I just think he's at a point where he doesn't have the same flair. So depending on where it is, and obviously between now and the rookie draft, the NFL draft, I think that they're going to probably make some key moves, and who knows what else they do. But yeah, for sure. I mean, keep an eye out for him because he might get a lot more touches than we're expecting, or a lot less. So, who else? What other news do we got going on, Puma? Um, those were the big things. I mean, you got guys like Flacco still now looking at the Steelers because Aaron Rodgers still hasn't made a decision. Russell Wilson still hasn't signed. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that are still available, some veteran quarterbacks.
Did you happen to catch Mike Williams? I don't know if we brought it up, but he's back in the Chargers
Oh yeah, Mike
from this
Williams back
weekend.
to
I
Tampa.
think that's a sneaky pickup. A lot of people will say, "Oh, when was the last time Mike Williams was good?" When he was on the Chargers after he tore his ACL week like 7 of 2 years ago, he was killing it.
Great.
And
He really
I
was.
remember someone in our league had the stack with him and Herbert, and they were just killing it. And he gets hurt, and I'm like, oh gosh, like what is this person gonna do? Nevertheless, he hasn't been the same. I think those ACL tears, we have to give these guys a year pass, and never and of it doesn't help that he was with the New York Jets, where you go to die. So for
He
me,
said it was his worst year of his career, to
yeah.
be with the New York
So for
Jets.
me, Mike Williams, sneaky, sneaky pick towards the end. People are gonna definitely be sleeping on him. And let's be honest, he's the wide receiver too in that offense. It's Lad McConkey and then him. Name me another wide receiver that, has any credibility and has the rapport with Herbert. If
Yep.
you right now sit in that wide receiver room, Mike Williams has the most rapport with Herbert just because he's been with him since he was a rookie.
Yep. And he also is a great outside receiver, which they desperately need right now.
Right.
So I think a guy like him who made big plays in the past, they had Keenan Allen who used to work the slot a lot. Now they got Lad McConkey. They're still missing that outside receiver. So it could be, sneaky, like you said. And I feel like a lot of people will sleep on him, including me. But he's, I do remember that time where he
Don't
was
get me wrong, I'm
pretty
not
dominant.
starting him day one, but it's one of those, he's a bench wait and see.
Sure, exactly. A stash, as we call it.
Yep.
So then let me ask you real quick before we go. Well, is there anything you wanted to talk about?
No,
I
I
feel like
mean,
I feel like
we
it's
were
a
just
date
having
where I'm
these
doing all
like
the
current
talking.
event, updates for the people out there. Other than that, I mean, it's more so like strategy wise at this time of the year. I just plead to everyone, just pay attention. I think that's the biggest thing that I could, the message I could really send to people is just pay attention who's getting picked up and stuff like that. Because come your draft and rankings come out, it's like a lot of message and information overload. So what I like to do is, at this time from now, end of March or mid to end of March to like the end of July, I like to have a notebook. And whoever intrigues me, just write their name down. Now I want you to go back to that notebook the end of July into August and see how many of those guys are relevant, if not on or off a roster. And again, you just put it into rankings. Who do you like the best? Mike Williams, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Mason, yada, yada, yada. Those sleeper picks. And just literally play that, mental gymnastics with yourself. Because come draft day, and when you're in there, you will see the difference between you and your league mates rounds 8 to 13. Because now you're familiar with those guys. They are
Yeah.
not.
I think that also, is a good point because we are due for a strategy episode where we're gonna dive into some strategies and let you guys know kind of some pointers on how to get prepared. And Puma just laid out a bunch right there. So in reality, definitely pay attention. Make sure you're catching up on every bit of news because it can be a big burst of information once you find out. But I think let me see here.
Especially like rookies, right? Like key rookies, like a Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, the kid that we brought up, Amarion Hampton. Those kind of personnel. I mean, yes, you could pay attention to Jackson Darts and the Cam Wards and the Shador Sanders, but they're not going to make that immediate impact. Not everyone is a Jaden Daniels and a Drake May or Michael Penix or Bo Nix, honestly. So for the most part, you want to keep an eye on those skill positions. Like I'll tell you a story. I knew back in 2017, Alvin Kamara was the next Jamal Charles, if not better. And he was coming out of Tennessee, and I always held, that image in my head. Okay, where is he going to get drafted? And when he got drafted to New Orleans, I just wrote it down and said to myself, I'm going to come back to this player, and nobody is going to know who this guy is until the time comes. And sure enough, Alvin Kamara, top five talent, top five, top six running back talent, and he's solid. He's solid. He's not glamorous anymore, but he's solid. And you would say up to this point, he's had a great career.
PPR machine. I love them. And yeah, that's funny too because those late round sleepers, people that you were mentioning earlier, like Jaden Daniels, for example, who you took, I believe, with the last pick or the second to last pick of your draft last year, took you to the fantasy championship. So a guy like a Mike Williams or a Jordan Mason, or a Javante Williams, a guy who's getting picked up later, could be the guy who helps take you to a championship. So
Yeah, I would always, try to plore. You got to find that diamond in the rough. That's going to make the difference between a champion and a winning team, right? So, there's a lot of winning teams out there. Majority of us play fantasy, but it's those detailed sleeper picks that make you into a champion.
we're coming up with a strategy episode soon, but we're gonna close it out for now. At least get you we want to let you know what's happening, some news. So please stay in touch, join our newsletter, thefantasywiseguys.com. We will be starting to post on Instagram, and you will see daily posts of current events, current news. So follow us there. Um, that's at Fantasy Wise Guys. And again, subscribe, like, comment. We are the Fantasy Wise Guys. Mr. Puma, you got anything else?
Nah, man, you know what I gotta say, right?
What?
Master your game.
Let's go. See you guys.
Oh, over and out.